comment. I do detect a quorum with myself, Councilmembers Benton, Ellis, Eastlick, Nash, Webb, and Weiner. First item on the agenda is RS 2024-330 by Councilmember Cash. This exempts Jashon, located at 2100 21st Avenue South, from minimal distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 70809E of the Metropolitan Code. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Hannah is going to get person.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and roll that to the heel real quick, and when he comes back, we'll take that back up. So bills on second reading, BL 2024-293, Evans, Porterfield, Bow, and Ewing. Amends Chapter 15.64 and Chapter... Oh. All right, ignore that. Councilmember Cash, we've already motioned and seconded your bill. If you want to go ahead and talk about it.
We are excited about this new restaurant. It's replacing a long time J. Christopher, which was a breakfast restaurant. We're kind of excited to have some.
I didn't even know J. Christopher's left.
Yes, it's gone.
Sad day.
But we're very excited about this one, and I've had. It's on 21st, and there's some homes behind it and some homes across the street, and both areas have reached out to me to say, yes, we want this Indian restaurant, and we want to be able to have a beer with our food. So I have not gotten any. I've gotten multiple people say that they're excited about it, and nobody that says that's going to be a problem.
All right.
We like agreement. We like agreement.
Yes.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I count 8 in favor, none against, and none not voting. Thank you, Councilmember Cash.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, so back to bills on second reading. BL 2024-293 amends Chapter 15.64 and Chapter 16.04 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to restrict fences in the floodway and floodplain and to require a fence permit for all fences to be constructed within Nashville and Davidson County. Motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. And there is an amendment. I'll let Councilmember Evans move the amendment.
Yes, I'd like to move the amendment.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All right. Go ahead, Councilmember.
So the amendment, the way it's written today, basically NDOT is part of this process. They would like to be included as an approver to whatever the eventual permitting process looks like. And so that's why the amendment is on there. And also taking the effective date to September of this year as opposed to immediately upon passage.
Okay. Councilmember Weiner.
Questions. Why the delay? And has this been, or which committees departments rather, has this been addressed with?
So the origin story of me being involved in this is I came to Hannah with a complaint, and then she said, "Oh, good, because this has been discussed with codes and stormwater that there needs to be some action around this." So we started discussing this idea last November. And so it's been to code, stormwater, I don't know if Metro Legal was involved. Mm-hmm. So there's been a variety of entities involved. And then of course NDOT weighed in with wanting to have the amendment included. And so as far as the delay is concerned, the delay is really around kind of the enablement of the overall bill on the rules and regulation component, because that will need to be something that is effectively communicated and shared with the public, and also process updates with Metro Water and codes as well.
Is there a fiscal note?
I don't think so.
I don't think that there's a fiscal note. Now, it allows for fees to be collected for the permit, and the fees would cover the cost.
Okay.
And that would come back to the council for approval, whenever that is.
All right. Councilmember Eastlick, you had a question.
It looks like there's two parts. There's the one in the floodplain, but then there's a permit fee for all fences. Why did the offenses get thrown into this as well?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. And so one of the things that I think is a rite of passage as you're on the council is people coming to you with complaints about fencing. And that has happened multiple times to me during my last term. And what the complaint issue that I brought forward to Hannah was specifically about kind of a two-pronged issue. One was it was a fence that was constructed that really touched the property owner's line and kind of really shouldn't have been built as close as it was, but then also it was built on a stormwater conveyance, so there was the two-pronged piece. The the code conversation around should Davidson County have a permit process started ages ago. I know Vice Mayor Henderson was involved in like 2018. Kathleen Murphy was involved last term in the 2020 timeline. And so it continues to become like it's an issue that has been discussed multiple times amongst multiple council bodies, and it has ended up not moving forward. Now, I know that there is a Metro stormwater issue in particular around the floodplain and floodway piece, and that was one of the key drivers. And so I don't know if anybody wants to provide any commentary around that. Will, if you want to speak to that, or anybody else.
If there's anybody from stormwater here,
Okay.
I don't know much about that part.
All right.
I mean, I used to work with stormwater, and I kind of know some background on that bill, and I believe that FEMA was either requiring or urging them to adopt it, and I also think that they were having a procedural problem, because there's essentially no way to catch the fences that were in the floodway without having a fence permit for all fences.
Thank you for that additional commentary.
All right,
And
Councilmember
just so
Webb.
y'all know, I reached out to Will on this because, I'm a builder, and I'm like, oh, hold on, we're gonna have to go get a fence permit every time we build a thing. But then, as we talk through it, it makes sense, because in my lifetime, you have had people fight over the fence because they don't know where the line is. They're keeping it very simple, gonna charge the minimum of $50. And then they're making the sketch be the contractor or the homeowner can draw out the sketch. We don't have to go get the property surveyed or don't have to go get a surveyor. It's gonna be very minimal. And so after we talked about that and got those details, I think it's a great idea, because I think it'll cut down on a lot of neighbors fighting over the road.
I agree, and I think it could potentially also fix a lot of issues, like say you go through you don't do a permit, you build a fence, then codes comes out and says, this is too close or is in the floodplain, you gotta tear it down. So all the money you just spent on that fence is gone. And so I think this is a good way to catch it at the front end before you actually commit to building a fence, so when you build it, you're good to go. Councilmember Benton.
With your additional comments, I feel a little bit better about it.
Okay, good. I'm glad
But
I somebody.
I deal with it in an HOA a lot, so I understand basically what the confusion can be sometimes. The one thing that I think I read in here was that we may be getting approval from multiple departments. Is that correct? And if that's correct, then is that going to delay the approval, versus just one department?
I'll let the sponsor answer that one.
Okay, I was just going to add some additional commentary around that, because I think the questions that I have gotten so far from last night, to today, really, as people are digesting kind of this, is really speaks to what does that process look like, and is it going to be additive? Like if you've gone through we could have Councilmember Friendly Webb speak to this, I'm sure, a lot about like the permitting process and how challenging it is, and what we've heard in the news about, the state approving, like going outside for approvals and stuff like that. That's definitely not the goal. The goal would be to make it a very simple process, but to that point, between the question I got related to easements last night and transportation, and then kind of that conversation around what do you envision the permitting process to look like? My intention is I'd like to add this amendment, but then I would also intend on deferring for 2 meetings, and I'll have to suspend the rules to do that tonight.
Okay.
What departments was it gonna go through? Did y'all list them?
It would be stormwater.
And,
And codes.
It would originate with us.
Well, codes is great, but I'm not sure about NDOT, as far as their permitting process, but stormwater, you can wait. I think in order for this to be simple and not to really make homeowners sweat it, I think it's gotta be to where that is signed off within a certain amount of time going through those departments.
Yeah, and I think that's a good suggestion. So that's part of the, I know it's going to be, one meeting deferral is what we moved last night in transportation, but really I need longer because I'm going to have to go back to everybody.
Yeah, I think that needs to be in there.
I think in a way I'm for this, especially being on the front end, having it planned, but I am scared of the delays that would come from the multiple jurisdictions or multiple departments that are getting in it. And if you're just in a regular neighborhood and just want to build a small fence around your thing, it could delay you a long time and really make it much more difficult to get that done. So in a way, I feel like we could be overcomplicating it. I think if, the floodplain part, absolutely, but then the other part, I'm not as sure about.
Yeah, I think it's, I appreciate that feedback, and so I will socialize that with the departments and see kind of where we land, and that's, I appreciate.
We don't want to make something simple for a homeowner difficult.
Yeah.
So I think if we
Right.
streamline the process, that won't happen.
Well, and if you're not going to have it surveyed, then you
Yeah.
could be making the mistake anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
So it may just be just a fee and a delay.
We'll have to figure that out.
All right, any other questions or discussion on the amendment? All right, hearing the sponsor's wishes, we will go ahead and vote on the amendment, and then we'll get on to the deferral. So all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, not voting?
Opposed?
Okay. All right, and the motion to defer 2 meetings, is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the deferral, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any not voting? Yes. Okay, so we've got 1 not voting, no against, and everybody else is in favor of the deferral. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Councilmember Evans. All right, final bill, RS 2024-295. Approves amendment number 1 to the contract between the Metropolitan Government and AT&T Corp. for managed and unmanaged telecommunications services. Should that be BL 2024?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, am I going crazy? All right, so is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, second. All right, any questions or discussions on this one from the committee? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I will mark this in favor. And with that, is there any other discussions or questions for this committee?
Did any council members' private information get lost in the hack of AT&T?
I've not been notified, so.
I'm not sure.
And I got notified by Norton, but that's because my identity was taken from me with T-Mobile.
Oh.
So who knows with
They're
AT&T?
spreading it around,
Yeah.
the Sanders.
All right. Well, with that, I will kind of make one last announcement, the discussion about the permitting process. It's a discussion, a complaint I have heard for a while. And so I'm probably going to reach out to codes and try and figure out, is there a way we can streamline the process and make it less of a headache? Because primarily, there's a lot of home builders that are not building
Well, I
houses.
agree with that too, because
Because of that,
some of the
it
homeowners
is.
association already
I'm sorry
have a
about
whole
that.
slew of steps you have to go through, and then you add that on top of it.
Yes.
Hannah, you had something you wanted to say?
Can you vote on this item?
Yes, 8 in favor, 9 against.
On 295, yeah.
So with that, stay tuned for some updates on that, or maybe a special call meeting for that. But I adjourn.
Hit the button.